What's going on, Sharks? Welcome to the dojo. This is the Raikaze here, and we're about to look into the current tournament that is going on as we speak. So at the time of recording of this video, we are currently in the middle of the Milwaukee Regional Championship, which is the very first regional tournament of Regulation I. With all the hype of Regulation I, one thing that you would have seen is the team to be prepared for in terms of the legendary core, and that was supposed to be Zamazenta and Calyrex Shadow, given the fact that they basically cover for each other's weaknesses. Or you had the Zamazenta and Lunala, because once again, that still has the same type coverage, but at the same time, Lunala has a little bit of a different niche. And then there were a few other teams, but those were some of the main ones because the big focus was going to be Zamazenta, because a lot of the spread damage moves coming from all the different Calyrexes, the Kyogres, the Groudons, things like that, those Pokemon are going to be so oppressive that the Zamazenta having the access to the Wide Guard makes it an extremely important tool, as well as powerful restricted legendary using those powerful body presses. However, as we look at the current standings out of the tournament here, so if you do want access to the type of teams that are being run on this current tournament, even though it is a live tournament, I will post a link to this page here in the description box below, which is the pokedata.ovh, where you can see the current standings in a running tournament, because as the Pokemon data is currently uploaded, such as like the teams and things of the sort, that is going to be uploaded to that file. So this is how you can see the team breakdowns. Of course, you still can't see their stats, so this is still just going to be the open team sheet format, but nonetheless, you will be able to see how these top players are running their teams. So we're just going to look at a few of these teams here and just see what this meta is currently developing into, because one thing that I have already noticed right off the bat is that Zamazenta, we have one in third place so far, but it's not that common. One of the top Pokemon that I'm actually seeing more so is going to be that of having those fire coverages, such as those Volcaronas, which I've been running a Volcarona myself, but I've been alternating on the stats a little bit and the moves and things of the sort, so it'll be interesting to look at these here. But also we have Koraidon. Koraidon has been picking up because it is faster than the Zamazenta, and with its Orichalcum Pulse ability, it is able to overcome the defense boosts of the Zamazenta. So if you're forcing the Zamazenta to do its terrestrialization, then you're leaving the other Pokemon as a sitting duck. Therefore, I believe that people have been looking at the preparation of everyone and seeing that everybody's basically going to be using the Zamazenta and bringing in ways to defeat the Zamazenta. So yeah, we have one in top 3, but then we go down here so far. The next Zamazenta is, unless I missed it, yeah, we're still going. I don't think I missed any so far, but I know it's got to be in here somewhere, right? I think I just, no, there we go, 27th place. So, but nonetheless, in this tournament, and it's still running, and this can be anyone's game when you go into day 2, but as you can see, it's not as common as we had originally expected. Also, what we're also seeing here is that there is not as many Calyrex Shadows. Most of these here are going to be Calyrex Ice. And if you have been watching on the tournament, I've been picking up on the fact that these Calyrex Ices have been going a bit faster. So for those of you that don't know, I've been running max speed Calyrex Ice in Regulation G, and I think that is picking up a little bit more because they're using the speed cap to be able to overcome some of these other Pokemon, and they're not necessarily always going for the Trick Room, so that will be a thing there. But if we go on through back up to the top here, and let's go ahead and look at these teams and see what we got. So Luca Paz, he's currently ranked at number 1. We have a few that's basically ranked at number 1 right now because they are 3 of them at 8-0. So that is awesome run for them. At the end of the stream, I did see Paul Chua. He had the last match on stream of day 1, and he definitely deserved that win. It was unfortunate what happened in round 2 for the double protect on his opponent, but he was still able to come back and win in round 3. So I definitely applaud him there. Let's look at his team right now. Looks as though he was running the Choice Specs Miraidon, so that was pretty standard. But one thing I did notice about his Miraidon is it was faster than his opponent's Miraidon. So I'm not sure if it was running as timid or if it was still just more speed investment on a modest nature. One thing that the commentators were saying is that they were surprised when his Miraidon was able to take out the Calyrex ice when it used the Electro Drift, when it had the electric terrain. I am very certain that Miraidon usually almost always takes out a Calyrex ice with an Electro Drift in the terrain. So don't believe that, and so make sure you are in fact understanding that a modest one will definitely take it out. Now timid, I'm not 100% sure, so that may be something to look into, but definitely don't let your Calyrex ice just sit there if there is still an electric terrain, so you got to watch out for that. He did have the Calyrex ice that had the Glacial Lens, high horsepower, Trick Room, Protect, so pretty standard. So also if you are going against a lot of speedy opponents, you then at that point you will set up the Trick Room. You also have the Farigiraf, which also runs the Trick Room as well, so you have another way that you can basically just sit there in front of also those ghost Pokemon, such as the Calyrex Shadow, so it's basically just sits there and it's immune. So Farigiraf is basically a great Pokemon to have on your team currently, especially if your team is weak against the Calyrex Shadow. And we also have the Ogerpon Water, so that is one thing that we haven't seen too much of here lately. So, and I'm actually kind of surprised that they were using the Ogerpon Water because of the opposing Miraidons that are out there, but it worked for him. He's 8-0, so that's awesome there. And then his Volcarona. That Volcarona is a Terra Steel, which I find interesting. I don't know why Terra Steel. It will still resist the ice attacks, but I don't know why. That kind of throws me off there. So, but again, it worked for him. Fiery Dance, Rage Power, Struggle Bug, Morning Sun. I did run into this on ladder a couple times, and I'm not 100% sure how much bulk is invested in this Volcarona. I didn't see it on stream, so I'm not able to really identify how much bulk and how he built it, like with the HP and how much damage it was putting out. But nonetheless, that Volcarona has the ability to do reducing the special attack on the opponents, possibly boosting its own special attack with its Fiery Dance, just a possibility. The Rage Powder to draw in a physical attacks, especially if you can have that Flame Body activate, so that'll be awesome. And then the Morning Sun to recover. So I would think that it would need to have enough speed to be able to do that, or you're just simply going for the Rage Powder and allowing your Miraidon to just basically go ham, and then if your Volcarona then goes down, then maybe Ogerpon comes in and does more follow me's and Miraidon just keeps on attacking. That will just depend if you just simply can control the terrain all the time, or maybe you just have Calyrex and you just go for the Glacial Lances. That might be a possibility, so you just have that redirection. You got the fake out with the Iron Hands, and then you also have priority protection with that Farigiraf. So that is awesome of the team building capabilities from Paul. Now let's go ahead and look at Luca. He's currently at number 1, but like I said, we have a tie for the first 3. And he's running the Incineroar, Lunala, Urshifu Water, Ursaluna, Miraidon, and Whimsicott. So now we have a lot of Miraidons as well, so that is another thing. So the Scarlet Violet duo of legendaries are in fact running amok in this current format. So this is actually pretty awesome to see. One thing that is about Miraidon is that unless you have a Indeedee and or a Rillaboom, it is going to do massive damage. One thing that is interesting about this Miraidon, however, is that it is the Assault Vest variant. So it is not going to be tied to a single attack. It has a Snarl, Volt Switch, Electro Drift, and the Draco Meteor. So, of course, with that electric terrain, it's still going to do massive damage. No, it's not going to be choice specs, so it's not going to be able to just basically one-shot everything. But at the same time, it's still going to do massive damage if you maintain that electric terrain. We also have the opportunity for the Lunala to set up a Trick Room and then go into the Ursaluna. So that is awesome there. We also have some very powerful pressure from the Urshifu Rapid Strike. So if the Lunala wants to set the Trick Room, they want to go after it, but the Urshifu Rapid Strike wants to just simply go for its attack, and it's choice banded. So it's going to do massive damage. So that is awesome there. We have the Whimsicott as well that can set like an Encore depending on what the opponent's trying to do, or if they're worried about like special attacks and the let's say Caloric Shadow, for example, the Urshifu can go for those surging strikes and the Whimsicott can set a Prankster light screen. Boom, you're good to go. So definitely excellent team building here from what we can see, and it is a different innovation just simply going with that assault vest on the Miraidon. And I wonder if anybody has any other type of specialty item. The Incineroar running with the Rocky helmet is pretty good, and everything else is pretty standard. I mean, honestly, the choice band on that Urshifu Rapid Strikes is very interesting. I would say maybe the Whimsicott is able to set the Tailwind and allow the Urshifu also to do some massive damage as well. I don't think it will do that well against the Koraidon team because there's no way for this team to change the weather. So that will be a challenge I think that he may run into in day 2. You know, we'll see how that goes. Let's see, Joseph on his team. Okay, this is our first Zamazenta team, and he's running it with the Miraidon. So he has the Body Press, Wide Guard, Iron Head. Well, oh wait, because that's gonna turn into the, what is that? The Behemoth Bash, and then Protect. So that works out well. Terra Water. That's going to be for the Koraidons. That will have to be for the Koraidon, so if they set in the sun and trying to go for their flare blitzes, so it's going to just withstand that, because even if they go for their fighting attacks, it's going to pretty well resist it because it's already going to be at that +1 defense, so it's not going to be able to double up on its basically offensive power by using a fire attack and you just staying as a steel type. You will have to be careful if you're going against a Miraidon Koraidon team. Even though that's very rare, I've run that as well at one point in the very beginning stages, and it was pretty fun. It did set a great deal of control on the field, so that is something that people can actually work with as well, but I've not seen anyone use those two together so far. But let's see, their Volcarona, Citrus Berry, Terra Grass, Fiery Dance, Quiver Dance, Giga Drain, Protect. So I've run not a Citrus Berry, so that's interesting. I have run a leftovers version of this type of Volcarona and made it pretty bulky and started going for the Quiver Dances and just try to make it really sustain itself. But this team, also with the Grimmsnarl, so yeah, so it sets up the screen, so it allows that Pokemon to also make, a lot of their Pokemon rather, to have more sustainability. But then we have this annoying Pokemon, Ditto, where it just decides, oh, if you're boosting, I'm going to copy your boost as well. So they are running that Ditto, and it has the Focus Sash. So if you've already boosted and it comes in and takes your boost, and if you don't double up on it and hopefully get like a priority move on it, it's probably going to smack your entire team because you've spent time boosting your own Pokemon. So be on the lookout for that. And it's Ditto. That's just the best thing you got, you know. So know how to defeat your own Pokemon if you're going to be able to try to capitalize against the Ditto team. If you're wanting to try to capitalize against the Ditto team, so that will be one thing there. So that's awesome. So that's the top 3 teams there. Let's scroll down here and let's see if there's anything else. Oh, one thing here we go. Ho-Oh. Currently in 7th place. Aditya Subramanian. Aditya. Sorry if I'm messing up your name there, but awesome team here with the Ho-Oh. Currently leftovers. So is this thing super bulky? Okay, I was wondering if they were gonna have the Grimmsnarl with it or some type of screen. So we got screens here. We have the Regenerator. We have Sacred Fire that can get a burn. So if you have a Reflect and a Sacred Fire burn, you are shutting down your opponent. If you are going against a Koraidon, Ho-Oh laughs at Koraidon. It definitely laughs at Koraidon. I was trying to run different restricteds and maybe even thinking honestly of like Fire Moltres, regular Fire, Cantonian, Moltres, because of the resistance that it has against a Koraidon. And if that was going to be like where I was struggling. So this is where you are using it as your restricted. And if you are going against like a Kyogre team, you can force them into your terrestrialization because you will have your Miraidon that can just really mess with it. And then if they go into like Terra Grass, for example, then you got the Brave Bird, and then you can basically take out the Kyogre. So that's amazing. Now, well, of course, your opponent can easily go for their own type of like, Tailwind or something like that. But if you have your own Tailwind in advance, then you're good to go. Like, yeah, I mean, do we have, oh, this is Spirit Break, so it's not, I'm noticing a lot of the teams I've been going up against are doing this now. They're doing the Light Screen, Parting Shot, Reflect, and then the final move. So there's not that many Grimmsnarls running the Thunder Wave here lately. Not sure why, because I think Thunder Wave is actually still pretty good, but Parting Shot just really to slow down some of the momentum on a lot of these restrictors, because there's only one of them that can hold a clear amulet. So perhaps that's just simply what that is all for. We also have Electric Seed on the Farigiraf, so pretty standard, running the Psychic Noise to prevent any recovery. And we also have a Ursaluna going with the Earthquake. That's very interesting, because your only way to really avoid your own Earthquake is if you swapped in a Ho-Oh. If your Ho-Oh went down, then your team will struggle with getting hit with its own Earthquake. But surely this Ursaluna has its ways. So more than likely what I'm thinking here is that this Ho-Oh could be the center of the team, and the Ursaluna may be additional support that comes in later on. So you might start off doing massive damage with the Miraidon right away, and then let Ho-Oh come in later on. Or you could do something along with the Farigiraf, set up the Trick Room, swap into the Ursaluna with a Volt Switch on the Miraidon, so do great damage there. Trick Room gets off, then we have the Ursaluna come in, then you set up for the Earthquake, swap out the Farigiraf and go into the Ho-Oh, and then you're good to go there. So definitely different ways in terms of how that can work. And yeah, I think this is a really good team. I love seeing the fact that somebody is bringing in the Ho-Oh. Let's see if we got anything else here. All right, I see we have a Terapagos, and finally I'm seeing a Rillaboom. I'm not seeing too many Rillabooms here. And a matter of fact, I did take a photo of the most used non-restricted Pokemon of day one. And so Rillaboom was in the 21.9%, but yet it didn't make too much of a great showing. So we'll come back to this team here. So yeah, so this is top 8. I'm not seeing too many. Well, no, there's another one, 17th. There's not a lot of Rillaboom in the very top, but I mean, they're there. They're there. I was getting kind of worried because I really like to have Rillaboom on my team. Rillaboom's amazing. And with that terrain control, because going against the Miraidons, you basically shut them down right away. I think that's actually really awesome. So the fact that I wasn't seeing them was kind of worrying me. But granted, of course, once again, that's only day one. So there's just that. We have 21.3% is going for the Farigiraf. So that, like I said, having that immunity to those ghost attacks. And also with a lot of the times they're going to have the Electric Seeds. So if they're going to be on the Miraidon team, then they're going to be able to withstand attacks coming from the Calyrex Ice. And then once you are able to go for the foul play, if they decide to terrestrialize out of their other type or whatever they want to even do, then you can still just do massive damage using your Miraidon and just take it out. More than likely, if depending on the speed tiers and how everything was going. Then we also have Urshifu Waters, 27.4%. Incineroar is 31.2%. And this is very important because the fact that there are so many powerful attackers, but a lot of them are ghosts, and a lot of the physical ones, you can't really always keep them with just a clear amulet. For example, you got the Koraidon, so they have to run with the maybe Clear Amulet, or they might go Life Orb. But if you can do with the Life Orb, do an Intimidate, then swap it out, you know, you can really just try to control how much damage you're doing against you. Going against the Zacian, then you got the Intimidate, so it loses its boost right then and there. Even on the Zamazenta, then you're dropping off the power of their Behemoth Bash or whatever steel type that they may want to do, if it's Heavy Slam or so. And yeah, they still have the Body Press, but you're still limiting them on their alternate attacks if you have your own Ghost, so they won't be using the Body Press against you anyway. So that is one thing that to take note of. We have 24.7% of the Iron Hands, so that makes sense. Iron Hands is taking advantage of this electric terrain, so we are seeing a ton of them on these teams. You see them boom, 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 boom. Oh, I see a Pelipper. We're going to look at that team here in a moment. Then we also have Whimsicott, so that's 14.4%. We have 19% going for the Chi-Yu though, so I'm loving seeing the fish coming back, so that is amazing. Can't wait for them to unleash the shiny, so that's going to be pretty awesome there. And we also have the Rock Ogerpon was beating out the other Ogerpons, and that's at 12.6%. Having that sturdy ability is going to be amazing for it, and because it can just withstand multiple attacks, so if it redirects multiple attacks into it, while it allows your main restricted legendary to do like either massive damage, or even it can set up a trick room, things of the sort, then that is where you can really capitalize on that. So Rock Ogerpon, I definitely do agree that that is an amazing best one to use at this moment in time. So then we have Joshua Lorky. This is going to be with that Terapagos team that I was just looking at here. And we have the leftovers, so the standard, Calm Mind, Terror Star Storm, Earth Power, Protect. Okay. So it's not sub. So it's probably going to need to get that set up, right? So as it's going for its... Ooh, I'm now realizing this is our first Kali Shadow. So this is Calyrex Shadow and Terapagos. So, okay. So I have heard that people say, oh, you know, it's so interesting that you see these two ever being together, because they also do pretty much complement one another. Calyrex Shadow hates Terapagos, and Terapagos loves going against it, but yet they do pair together very, very well. We also have the Rillaboom, which can do the Fake Out Pressure as well as the Incineroar, and then the Amoonguss goes for the redirection while allowing the Terapagos to go for his Calm Mind. So that's going to be perfect there, because like, let's say for example, if you were going up against a Calyrex Shadow, the Terapagos is going to just sit there, right? And it's just going to go with the Calm Mind. You more than likely will go with the Incineroar because you're going to resist the Astral Barrage. And if you go for the knockoff, if they want to go Terastallization, then boom, Terapagos is able to capitalize on that. Then if you just simply have any other Pokemon that you're going up against, then you just simply just go Fake Out, Calm Mind. Swap out, send in the Rillaboom, Fake Out, Calm Mind. And then as you get the grassy terrain plus the leftovers, you get back to your Terra Shell ability, and then you will be basically reducing damage from the first hit. Then you got your Amoonguss that can come in. So this is a form where, once again, you don't need to have two restricted legendaries in the same match. Yes, it will be awesome to do, because as we can see here, we also have the Will-O-Wisp on this Calyrex Shadow, so that's going to reduce the damage on the opponent. Then if they want to go for their most powerful attack, then you can run the Disable on them. Then you also have Protect. So this is amazing, just having that tech. And I've been seeing a lot of Encore, because with that speed tier that it has, if you were going up against a Miraidon team, for example, and then you were to go with a Calm Mind, and then they're trying to go for like a Volt Switch. You Protect on both your mons, then it's choiced, so it goes for its next attack, but you disable it. Boom. You're faster than it, you disable it, it is now struggling. So it's perfect. It is absolutely perfect. So as you are seeing though, these mons are changing their third move. Normally it'll be like Astral Barrage, and maybe like Psychic or Psyshock, Protect, Nasty Plot. But here we're seeing a lot more Encores. We're seeing Disables. Here we have a Will-O-Wisp here. They are using a little bit more tech at the same time, because they are not the only powerhouse on your team. You have another powerhouse available, so they're going to change their tech just a little bit. So that's why we haven't been really going through a whole bunch of these teams anymore, because we've gone through so many different spreads already from the Regulation G format. So I hope you all have been going back and checking out those videos if you needed to get an idea on how to use a lot of these restricted legendaries. And you just can take that and do a few little tweaks here and make your team able to basically have a little bit more synergy with another restricted legendary. Basically saying, hey, I am willing to share the spotlight with you, so let's see how we can help one another. And the Will-O-Wisp will definitely help the defense of the Terapagos while it's also going for its special defense with its own Calm Mind. That's how it will work pretty well. And yeah, so that will be pretty good there. So one other team that I wanted to look at here, I saw that Pelipper. Where's that Pelipper? So it's in 11th place, so 7-1. And Jeremy Parson. And let's take a look at this team here. So it is the Ice Rider plus with the Miraidon. We have the Pelipper, Urshifu Water. So those are awesome. I had that same 4 on my team before, but I've not been playing around with Farigiraf and Iron Hands as much as I would like. I've never been really that much of a Farigiraf player, but I used to use Iron Hands. I used to have my Glitter Hands ones because it was Terra Fairy in the past, but you know, that's neither here nor there. So something to look into, to revisit, because it's definitely doing super well. The Pelipper will have the standard, well, no, not really fully standard, so it's Focus Sash, so it's going to be holding the Focus Sash there because the Miraidon's going to be the choice specs. We also have the Calyrex Ice Rider, who's going to be the Clear Amulet. And the Pelipper's Weather Ball, Hurricane, Wide Guard, and Protect. So that is going to be the Wide Guard user. So they've only lost 1 match, so we can't really see how their matches were going and what kind of team that they lost to. That information will be on Lab Mouse in the near future, but I am ready for Jeremy to get a bit more up there because I do like having Pelipper, and I've slowly been getting to the point where I'm like, hey, I'm probably gonna have to pull Pelipper off of my team because it's just not been surviving, or I basically need to change how my items work. So I like the fact that they are having it with the Focus Sash, so if it was going against, let's say, a Incineroar team, you still can run to Protect initially and then go for that Weather Ball. And if they wanted to Terastallize, then boom, you can do massive damage with your other Pokemon and you're good to go from there. So, and the fact that it sets the rain for your Urshifu Rapid Strikes is awesome. And if it's going against a Koraidon team, you're setting the rain once again, so it's going to drastically weaken that Pokemon, and your Calyrex Ice Rider is going to be able to do massive damage. If they go Terra Fire, then you got the high horsepower, then you can do massive damage to that. Your Iron Hands is going to be a Terra Bug here. I know that the Terra Bug is good just because of the fact that it resists certain moves like the Body Press, it will resist the ground type moves, and things like that. So you just have to be careful just against like certain fire types, like for example from the Koraidon, or if you're going against like certain flying moves, but there's not really much flying moves out there. So it's definitely a very good defensive Terra type, and obviously it's paying off for him as well. And we're also even seeing that Wolf Lake is running 7-1 right now, and he's doing the Koraidon Lunala team, still doing the Life Orb, just like how he was innovative on. So I think he was the one that was really starting off on that, so that was good there. We have Flame Charge, Close Combat, Flare Blitz, Protect, pretty standard there. Terra Water on the Amoonguss. You don't really see Amoonguss too much. You have been starting to see the Brute Bonnet more, but now the Amoonguss is here, so it's still running the Spore in case if it's going against teams that's not running the Miraidon, even though there's a lot of Miraidons running around, but you know, that is what it is, because he doesn't have terrain control, but yet he's still risking it and bringing the Spore, so he's doing really well, because of course it's Wolf Glick, you know, it is what it is. We got the Power Herb on the Lunala. We Shadow Shield, Moongeist, Meteor Beam, Trick Room, Protect, so pretty standard there. We have Safety Goggles on the Incineroar. Interesting that, like I said, I don't really see too much of this anymore, of the spores going on. But nonetheless, he is running the Safety Goggles, Fake Out, Parting Shot, Flare Blitz, Knockoff. So he is opting to go in with the Flare Blitz as opposed to like a Will-O-Wisp, so that's interesting there. We have an Assault Vest on the Raging Bolt, so that is awesome because he is running the Snarl, so bringing that back, and that reduces the special attack damage from a lot of the opponents there, so that can help his team to survive on certain attacks. And then we have Dragon Pulse, Thunderclap, Electro Web. And that's, I think, where I've been messing up too, because I had pulled off the Thunderclap off of my Raging Bolt, but that is definitely necessary for Raging Bolt, especially with a lot of the current Pokemon here that will be surviving with like a Focus Sash or something like that. You're just going to need that Thunderclap. And their Flutter Mane is Focus Sash and Protect, Icy Wind for speed control. We got the Taunt. I love having Taunt. I run Taunt on my Flutter Mane right now, and Moonblast, so that works excellent as well. So definitely good speed control. And yeah, we got Redirection, we got Fake Out, and we have very powerful offensive pressure right there. And then we also have just powerful special attacks that also gets boosted from the sunlight coming from the Koraidon. So once again, like I said, there's going to be a ton of info. You can go through here and see a lot of these different teams. There's another Ho-Oh team right there. There's like I said, the Brute Bonnet. We also have the Iron Treads, which is probably going to be, Choice Band, which you'll run with the Miraidon. Usually with these mons, they are going to boost their speed. Even though the Choice Band, they will have enough speed so that the Miraidon will set the terrain and it will go for their Steel Roller. The Miraidon will still go for a Volt Switch out. Iron Treads will then do massive damage, eliminate the terrain, and Miraidon can then come back in and reset the terrain, and it can keep going for those Steel Rollers, or it can go for like massive damage on that high horsepower or Rock Slide. Just depends on what it wants to do with that Choice Band. So it is a very, very oppressive mon. So do not sleep on Iron Treads. That is another mon that is coming out. So it seems as though a lot of the cores that we were expecting, people were very well prepared for them, and there's quite a bit of innovation that's going on. But Koraidon is definitely picking up. Miraidon is still there to stay. So the Scarlet Violet duo is in fact running this regulation thus far. So definitely do not sleep on those Pokemon. See how you can incorporate it onto your team, and use the site so you can get more of an idea on how you want to possibly build around on your team, and then take it to a tournament and just see how you do. NAIC is coming up in the next month, so make sure if you are in fact going to NAIC that you are getting very comfortable with your team from now, and that way you'll be able to take in the actual event and not be stressing at that moment in time. So once again, I'm going to post the link to this page here in the description box below, so if you want to go ahead and look at some more teams, go ahead and do so. And in the meantime, while day 2 is going on, go ahead and check that out. It's going to be running live. It's probably already started by this point in time, by the time this video is going out, so make sure you are in fact checking that out. I won't be able to watch it because I will be having to get ready for work, unfortunately, but that is what it is. But definitely, if you're looking for some more ideas, like I said, hit up on this website here. You'll be able to check out on these teams, and then when Lab Mouse is going to be updated, probably in the next few days, then you'll be able to see the full other form of like how the teams, who they were going up against and things of the sort per round. But that's where we're going to end it here. Just wanted to cover over a few of the teams and just seeing what the meta is currently looking at in the very beginning, and it's going to continue to develop as time goes on. So make sure you're keeping up on that and practicing to get better. So if you do like this type of content, be sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and turn on those notifications to see when the next videos go live. And if there's anything kind of specific that you would like to see about the Regulation I format, be sure to leave a comment below and tell us what you are looking for, and then see what we can do to help you out in terms of that. But in this moment in time, this is going to be the Raikaze signing off. You all know what to do. You stay strong and you power on. Swim on, sharks.